Greetings everyone, my name is Buck Business. Konnichiwa, I'm Kawaii Critic. And today we are here to say goodbye to My Little Pony Season 9, Episodes 24 through 26, the final finale. So we'll be grouping all of these together, even though two of them are a proper season finale and one of them is sort of an extra episode of what happens in the future. We decided, since they're all terrible, that we would just cluster them into one big episode review. So let's get down to business, shall we? How in the world did the writing get this bad? I am actually flabbergasted how bad the writing has become. These episodes, especially the previous two, 24 and 25, they retroactively make two other episodes in Season 9 objectively worse. And it comes so early on in this little finale, and it's just a jaw-dropping moment of, why would you do that? Why would you go and make something as bad as Game of Thrones season finale? This is the end. This was supposed to go out in a bang, not in a whimper. And that's exactly what I witnessed. A whimper. A dying breed of bad writing. Just throw it all away. Because all of the good that came before, we don't care. We obviously do not care to satisfy an audience. So let's just throw it all away in Season 9, just make it the worst possible thing it can possibly be, and everyone will be fooled because we'll throw in some emotional moments, and that will make them all just go, oh, it's all over, isn't it? And that's not fair. That is purely manipulation on the writing here, as well as the animation that goes behind it as well. So if you don't know what I am talking about, let me specify. So again, pretty early on, we see that our heroes are going about pretty celebratory, getting ready for Princess Twilight's coronation, and we find out that the bad guys, Tyrek, Cozy Glow, and Chrysalis have been gaining their power/knowledge, and once Grogar returns, they suck up his magic, and lo and behold, it ends up being Discord. Why would you do this? That is objectively bad. Why? Why would you ruin two other episodes, the ones with the villains I am talking about, by the way? Why would you ruin these episodes by making Grogar Discord? Why would you do that? It makes absolutely no sense. Even from Discord's point of view, even if you tried to counterpoint with he's the Lord of Chaos, that does still not compare to the level of crime that he committed here today in this season finale. Let me make a comparison to real life, because this is actually what happens in this episode. Let's say there is a person in real life, and this person has been your friend. This person goes to a prison, and he lets loose 3 people that have committed actual crimes in the past. At least 2 of the 3 of them, let's be fair. And those 2, / the other one, will go out and they will commit more crimes on this person's behalf because that person let them go. So, the 3 people are stopped, and they are exclusively punished, while the person who let them go is let free. What the actual fuck? That is absurd. That would never, ever happen in real life. And you cannot tell me that that level of treachery, betrayal, and deceit goes unpunished when the level of crime is the entire entire land which these ponies are trying to defend. And Discord is the one responsible for all of this, and he is let go without a single punishment. What are you thinking, writers? What kind of message are you trying to send to the kids who grew up? And the new kids who might come across this? Because that's pretty much what has been happening. Why would you send such a disgusting moral down their throats? Why would you let them think that that's ever okay to do? That is the opposite of what you should be trying to do. And the craziest thing is that there was an easy solution to all of this. Just make Grogar Grogar. That's all you had to do. That is all you had to do, and you decided to throw it all away. You threw it all away for some convoluted plan that makes absolutely no sense and makes the hero of heroines doubt themselves and doubt themselves proper because everything else beforehand has objectively been, yes, for nothing. Twilight was right in this episode to say the things that she has said because she was absolutely right. If I had come in and I had seen a ruler that was predicated on by defeating someone else's, rival, but that was set up by their friend, I wouldn't think they were proper to rule this land at all. I would think that they were a sham, a fake, a false ruler. And that is what we're left with. That is what we are going to say is the final nail in the coffin. Why would you do that to your episode? Why would you predicate so much effort and then throw it all away? It makes no sense. And it ruins the entire finale. It really does. And it's not a small thing. It's a big reveal. They make a point to make it sure that you see that it is Discord. That he makes his way all the way back. That the ponies, say, oh, why did you do this? And yes, his answer still isn't good enough. It is not. It's not an excuse to him to be punished later on. It just makes no sense. It's bad writing is what it is. It's all I can say. It's bad writing. And it could have all been avoided. This could have been a fine season finale, but you had to go and ruin it. And yeah, they go through the villains are about to get close, and they do bring in all the warriors, which is a trope I'm actually very fond of and a fan of, but it's predicated on a lie. All of it. All of the past, the present, and the future. They're represented all there at the final end with their trifecta rainbow beam to the three villains, and then they get punished for Discord's actions. It just makes no sense. Why? Why were they punished and why only them? It's bad. It's so bad. This might be one of the worst morals I've ever seen because it's executed so poorly. It's so mishandled, and you're probably trying to do the whole Star Wars thing, right? Break everyone's expectations. Do the whole this ice lady or dragon lady or whatever her name is from Game of Thrones decides to do all of the evil that she does, and it's to break everyone's expectations. You think that that's the right thing to do. It's not, because it's executed so poorly, and it just turns everything on its head on such a fundamental level that you break the entire episode. You broke the entire episode to sacrifice that, to break everyone's expectations, and even if you were somehow expecting it, it's still bad! It's still a crime! He still deserves to be punished! You cannot tell me that Discord is allowed to be set free, which he is at the end of this episodes. It's just that bad. It's over. It really truly is over. And that's disappointing. That this is how we're going to remember My Little Pony now. Just throw it away. Just throw it away to break everyone's expectations. And if you didn't, just throw it away with really piss poor writing. Why? Why do it? It just doesn't make any sense. And to make matters worse, we have episode 26, The Final Problem. So we skip ahead several years, and we see this image, by the way. And first of all, what in the world did they do with Twilight and Spike's designs? Holy moly. I kinda got a little bit used to Twilight Sparkle, a little bit, but it still feels a little off. Kind of like how I originally felt with the changelings when they first changed. I thought the design was pretty bad at first, but I got used to it. I kind of feel that with Twilight Sparkle at this point, but with Spike, holy crap did they do Spike dirty. Why is Spike design so actually hideous? And before I can go even any further into how bad Spike's design is, the moral of this episode is that friendships are hard. They're complicated because Twilight Sparkle has a new apprentice and she wants to do the whole starting the cycle all over again. She is the new Twilight Sparkle officially, and she doesn't want to do friendship. She wants to just go focus on her learning solo, and Twilight re-educates her in the power of friendship. That's the moral, and it's a fine moral to have. And there's even a nice song. I'll give the episode that. It's a really nice send-off song, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's when the episode is actually good. Unfortunately, we have to look at this and the other future things that we have come to see in this episode. So let's get back to Spike's design. Like, why did you do Spike this dirty, designers of this show? I mean, did you need to hire someone as bad as me to do this design? Because this design looks pretty ugly. It is just ugly. And it could be fixed if you did proportions correctly, but you didn't. First of all, why is Spike's head suddenly a square shape? Spike's head was round. I don't understand why him turning into an adult would make it square. And his body is just so bulky now. First of all, I don't think that's a good enough... Those proportions are just off. They are off. His legs are too stubby and his arms are okay, I guess. But he looks like the Sonic the Hedgehog design, if I'm being perfectly honest. The body is way too tall and the legs are too stocky now. And his square head is just so off-putting. And you could have fixed all of that. First of all, I've seen plenty of artists do Spike's design as a teen, first and foremost. And they keep the round design, and they make the legs more longer, which would make more sense for Spike, because he would be a thinner character, reasonably speaking anyway, if you were to make the proportions accurate to what they should be. They should not be unproportionate to his body. That just doesn't look right. It just looks ugly. So what they needed to do for Spike's design is make his legs longer and his body a little bit skinnier. Spike should be, well, if I can allow Kawaii Critic to take this one, he should be a twink. Yes, I said the phrase twink in reference to Spike, Spikey-kun. He should have just been a twig-like character with tall legs, a skinny body, and still that round head, and keep the arms relatively the same, and you keep the wings a little bit, long as they should be. And then, of course, if other characters are gonna wear some clothes. I guess you could give Spike some more clothes too. If you're gonna give, you could give him one of those. I've seen a drawing where someone gave him more of a Chinese aesthetic, and it looked really, really good. You could have gone for something like that, a bit more armorish or a bit scholarish in design, if you're going to choose that option. And you could still keep him skinny, but, just keep the proportions correct here. And of course, again, Twilight Sparkle-san does feel a little bit off. I think it mainly has to do with her legs being her legs are what Spike's legs should have been in terms of length, if that makes any sense. Her legs are a little bit longer than his, which, again, I don't think feels completely right in terms of just the rest of her body, but I think it's a less of a problem for her than him, by comparison at least. And the craziest thing is that the rest of the designs aren't even that bad. It's just some of the imagery we see is unfortunately pretty telling of what they were trying to do. So we have some relationships to go over because they are confirmed now. All of a sudden, in this flash forward, we have Pinky-san, who now has a child with, what's his face, the cheese sandwich guy. Yeah, that guy. So they have a kid now. So I guess they were in a relationship, question mark? Where did that even come from? I'm sorry, but it never felt like there was any potential romance between these two characters, and I do understand that some people ship them. That's fine, but there's nothing in the episodes that indicate that they would be in a future relationship either. So it just kind of comes out of nowhere. And we're not just going to talk about this straight relationship, we're talking about them in the order that they come in, and Pinky-san does come in before the other two, which I'm about to get into, because they're just as bad, poorly written, in terms of, like, oh, they're in a relationship now, and you can tell that the writers were intending to show that these two were in a relationship, and of course I'm talking about Rainbow-san and, excuse me, Apple Dash-san. So they committed to that relationship. The two competing female leads are now in a relationship, and you can tell that they are trying to guide you to that conclusion by them coming in together and them having that little bit of bickering between the two of them. And that's supposed to indicate that they're now in a relationship. You can tell that's what they were trying to do there. And here's the thing. There aren't a lot of good lesbian relationships, period. I mean, by comparison, Lyra-san and Bonbon-san are objectively better because they had episode 100, even though they had to use the word friendship instead of partner or whatever. It's still better written than Apple Dash here. Apple Dash-san. And I just combined their names just to save a little bit of time. But yeah, this relationship also comes out of completely nowhere. And it just doesn't even feel as... It just comes out of completely nowhere, and you're just supposed to buy it. Like, no, that's not how this works. I mean, comparatively, every other relationship outside of the main six makes more sense, objectively speaking. Why would you have it that way? It makes no sense. Why would your background characters have better relationships, both lesbian and straight, combined in the background? And we'll go over those too, since they're all featured in this episode. So, we have our background characters such as Lyra-san and Bonbon-san, who I just mentioned, have a better relationship and have a established relationship previously to establish that not only they had episode 100, but we also saw them propose to each other, so we know that they're in a relationship already. So that one is easy. That's an easy lesbian relationship. Good job, writers. You did that one good enough. It was good enough. And that's fine. That's totally fine. You did it good. And that's all I could have ever asked for. And, of course, we can't forget about our other straight relationship that we see. We see, of course, Yona-chan and Sandbar-san as a relationship, an item. They come out together, implying that they live together, I guess. Again, even if I subjectively don't like that couple, objectively, it's better written than what we see the main characters go through. So even though I disagree with it from a subjective standpoint, I can still say, objectively speaking, it's a good relationship. I mean, yeah, you can tell I have been pushing for the whole Sandbar-kun and Gallus-kun to be a gay relationship because there are also no well-written gay characters yet, so I would have preferred the dating episode be between those two, and that moral would have made a lot more sense in that regard, but, you know, that's not the route that they went with. They went with Sandbar-kun and Yona-chan, and you know what? Even though, again, from a subjective standpoint, I disagree, I can say, objectively speaking, yes, it's a good and well-written episode, and yes, they are a good and well-written couple. Heck, even the other lesbian couple that I think was also implied in this episode, I still feel has more chemistry than even Appledash as a couple unit. And we see it very briefly as they are going through the various background ponies. We see Ocellus-chan and Smolder-chan, and the scene is Ocellus-chan gives some coffee to Smolder-chan, and that's about it. And there, again, I feel like other episodes have established that their banter between each other is just better than Appledash in terms of establishing a little bit of back and forth in terms of a relationship instead of, oh, we're just going to make this relationship like this, like a snap. We're just going to decide that Appledash is an item now, out of absolutely nowhere. We're absolutely going to make it out of a snap. That Pinkie Pie-san and Cheese Sandwich-san are instantly an item now, without any established writing as to why that would ever occur. And of course, there was also Fluttershy-san and Discord-san, who is an absolute criminal, so Fluttershy-san is now in a relationship with a criminal. That's what you've done. That is what you've done. And that one's also poorly written because, well, at least from Fluttershy-san's perspective, I suppose there has been a lot more moments from Discord-san in terms of when he's actually well written that implies that he actually does like Fluttershy in a romantic way. So at least from his perspective, that's okay and that's fine, but from hers, I never really bought it in any way. Maybe the closest you ever get with her coming to terms with that was the episode where they lived together, or she went to his house. And I would argue that that's the best written Discord episode out of any Discord episode we have. And that should have been the final Discord episode, by the way. It truly is a shame that so many of these couples just, out of the main ones, are just so poorly put together. You just skip ahead, just throw it all together, and then all the background characters have so better, well-established relationships, better chemistry. It just is laughable how poorly together they put this, and they could have just switched a few things around. Make it that simple, or better yet, establish these things earlier on in some way or fashion to indicate that this would actually make any form of actual sense for the main characters, because as is, all of the relationships make zero sense. They make zero sense. At the very maximum, I would give at least 30%. 0 to 30. And that's not good enough. that is not good enough to end your season finale. And you try to coat it off with an executed well song. You try to execute it with all this good storytelling in between with the flashbacks. But it all gets ruined with everything else, every other bad decision. Every other bad decision makes this so much worse. It makes it so much more disappointing that this is where we're gonna end. And this is where this channel dies, unfortunately. That's right, this channel is no more. I don't know how YouTube handles inactive channels, but from this point moving forward, this channel will just be inactive in terms of new videos. In terms of if you want to see more content until I'm poor and on the streets and a homeless hobo that might decide that that's the end of my life, if that's where things end, then please consider joining the main channel, of which, spoiler alert, me and Kawaii are both voiced by the same person in real life. Oh no! The secret! The curtain has been revealed! Not that that's any surprise, it's kind of a give me that we were always voiced by the same person. Oh no! But it's over. It's over, isn't it? And it's over in such a baffling way. Why? Why did this have to be the end indeed? Season 9 is the worst season of all time. And it's brought down by these final episodes. It just ruins previous episodes where we're establishing our villains and making them better. But all of it's irrelevant. It's all made irrelevant by one decision, and you didn't have to do it. You didn't have to try to break everyone's expectations to try to throw those surprises in, because all that did was make the writing worse. That's all it ever does from current perspective. I haven't seen many very surprises be well written in the mainstream when things become extremely popular. It turns out that sometimes the smaller things know how to do it better than the bigger things. And that's a shame that the writing is such an atrocity. It's such a shame that this is our goodbye as well. So, again, if you want to support us, continue supporting us. You can do it by checking the link in the description. It will head you over to the main channel, and there will be more content that isn't My Little Pony related anymore. And with that, we say our final farewells, our final goodbyes. It's been a ride, and it probably should have ended a season earlier, if we're being completely honest. Because this season was just bad. It really was. What a joke. What a sad state of affairs that we have to leave this in. But that is what it is. So we say our goodbyes. And we hope that one day that all the other stuff will just line up and be better. Hopefully this whole talk of Generation 5 and the new movies all be fine. But we will not be there to cover that, because we are just done. We are done with this, and we are ready to say goodbye, our final curtain call. And that is that. It's sad, in a way, that we never got to be accepted into the Brony analysis community, because we didn't have enough subscribers. So they ignored us. We never felt like we belonged anywhere in this fandom. And now we get to say goodbye, never fully being embraced by the community. But that's okay. Because there are other shows, and there are other video games, and there are other movies which we'll be reviewing and playing, and probably either having a better time or worse time. So that's where we'll leave off. And until next time, this is the final time. So, farewell, once and for all. Goodbye, everyone! Goodbye!